welcome to Relocate Guru. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Nicole, founder of Relocate Guru, and what I want Relocate Guru to be is a place where we can share our insider knowledge and tips that we wish someone had told us before we moved. So to help everyone just to take away the stress of moving and to help everyone feel more settled and feel like a local as quickly as possible. So to help explore the issues and topics around moving in a little bit more depth, we have these weekly chats with inspiring and interesting people that I've met along my journey to help discover a bit more about moving and to share more tips. So this week we are having a chat with Diane, who I met on our trip to Boston last year in October. And Diane lives in Bristol currently, but she's also worked in Dubai. And when her daughter moved to university while she was living abroad, that's what inspired her to start her business, the Vigiles Group. So hello and welcome, Diane. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, Nicole. Thank you very much for inviting me along. I'm pleased to be here.
Thanks. So tell us a little bit more and why you started your business.
Okay, well, Vigiles, we're a technology company. We're all about using reality technology for good to make a positive impact. And what initially started it a few years ago was based on my daughter's experience when she went off to university. At her student accommodation, there were lots of alarm activations and very preventable fires. And it got me thinking about student safety and what training students have when they went off to university, in particular around fire safety. And at that time, I realised that we're not really using technology to make the most of actually engaging young adults who are leaving home and living independently for the first time to learn about really serious subjects such as fire safety. So the inspiration behind it, the Vigiles Group, is actually to use this amazing reality technology that we have to engage young adults to learn to live safely once living away from home for the first time.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because how to use technology, because it's quite a big difference of to go into a technology company from what you were doing previously, wasn't it?
Yes. Completely. I mean, I've always been a bit of a secret geek and technology fascinates me. But what interests me more than anything is how us humans, how people interact, how we learn and how we behave. And having been a manager and project manager of large groups of people, I recognise that e-learning or traditional lectures sometimes don't inspire us as much as they could do. I don't know if you've ever had experience, Nicole, of e-learning, fire safety at any of the jobs that you've worked at in the past, but unless it's done in a certain kind of way, there's around 60% of the population who aren't engaged or motivated by the subjects that they're having to learn. And really, at Vigiles, we're trying to innovate and do things differently and try to inspire that 60% of the population who don't really pick up on core safety messages when relayed through e-learning or traditional lectures. And let's face it, with students, if they are told to be at lecture hall, whatever it may be, at 10 o'clock in the morning, how many of them are actually going to get there and make it to learn about these amazing life skills that really everyone should know about? So we're trying to do things differently and innovate in that kind of way. And technology is fascinating, and it's a great area to be working in.
No, it's really exciting, and like you said, sort of especially as a parent, being far away, and feeling that kind of helplessness and out of control. That's it's kind of your way of going, okay, I can do something really practical that's going to make a difference.
Absolutely. When we initially came up with the idea, a lot of people said, you're absolutely crazy. You cannot use reality technology in that way with serious safety subjects. And obviously it made me think very carefully about what we do, but more importantly, we spoke to nearly 400 students and asked them what they would find inspiring when it came to learning about safety, and also, do they have an expectation that it should be on their mobile phones? And 100% of the students we asked said, yes, we expect learning and training to be accessible via our mobile phones. And so I got to find out if there was anything out there that uses the kind of technology that we do, reality technology specifically, to engage in these areas. And at that time, which was a couple of years ago, there was nothing specific that was interactive, gamified, that really focused in on core safety subjects. So it lent us to actually have a go and develop a prototype, which is what we've done.
Exactly. So for people who, just to explain a little bit more, it's an analogy I would say it'd be like Pokemon Go for fire safety training.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I could recommend, that describe it as.
Absolutely. So it's just like that. So rather than using virtual reality, which is where you are submersed or in an immersive situation is actually created, we use reality technology and also mixed reality. So you still have your surroundings all around you whilst you're having this rather amazing experience pop up alive in front of you. And we demoed it, didn't we, with a number of fire officers at Harvard, at Cambridge Fire Department. And it really is interesting to watch the reaction of using your mobile phone with this technology, and a whole kitchen comes alive around the user. So it's something completely different to anything else that people are experiencing currently.
Yeah. So, because you were living in Dubai when your daughter went to university for the first time, and
Yeah.
how did you feel? How did you feel when you went through that process, and how did you manage that?
I think as a parent, never underestimate the feelings that you have when your young person leaves home for the first time or gets ready and goes to university. We feel all kinds of stress and anxiety. Times that by 10, and you may get an inkling for how much stress and pressure the young adults that are going off to university feel. It's incredibly overwhelming as a parent, but imagine how that young person feels. One of the things that was specific for developing Vigiles, and also with my daughter's experience, is that safety is just a tiny, tiny slice of the pie of what young people experience when they go off to university. So as parents, if we can help and support and be mindful of everything that these young adults are facing when they leave home to live independently, we can help them to cope and manage the situation. Mental health and loneliness within university students is a massive, massive problem. They say it's around 80% of students who go off and live independently at university actually feel lonely, which is kind of ironic because you associate university with Freshers Week and fun and all these different things, but actually the pressures they're facing are formidable. And we as parents need to be mindful of everything they're going through and almost help them and gently encourage them to be aware of all the things they're going to have to cope with when they live independently for the first time. The part of what we develop at Vigiles is all about bringing people together and not letting students feel isolated when they go off to university. They're under a lot of pressure. We want to make serious subjects a bit more memorable and fun, but we also want to get them talking with each other. So as parents, I feel we have a duty of care to make sure that our young people are going off to university as well informed and prepared as possible.
Yeah, it's quite tricky. Like I think it's like going to university for the first time. Yeah, it's a bit daunting and you can end up feeling isolated if you've been like I was put into halls of residence full of Chinese students, which I thought would be great, sort of like international, but because they had very limited English and kind of kept themselves to themselves and didn't integrate sort of like in the halls, we didn't kind of communicate. They just kind of stayed in their room, did their own thing, and didn't actually integrate with the others. Sort of like it was quite isolating. So I kind of had to find my own groups out with like my halls of residence. And yeah, it can be quite intimidating, especially if you're shy. To kind of put yourself out there and to join different groups and get involved. But I think as parents, and sort of like I've got a little while, thank goodness, before I have to go through that phase. So any tips that you're sharing right now is going to help me in the future to kind of prepare children sort of like before they get to university, of like how to kind of transition to go from like a world where they kind of have friends and they know what's going on to a world where they just don't know anybody.
Yeah, and I think also if they are aware and feel empowered and confident with skills such as managing finance and budgeting, which everybody assumes, I think as a parent, we've got an assumption that our young adults understand the concept of budgeting and the responsibility that goes with that. But that's not always necessarily the case. So I think there are some key things that as parents that we can ensure that our young adults have life skills for going off to university. They feel confident, they feel empowered, they don't find themselves in really difficult situations which they are unable to handle, and often don't have the confidence or don't want to lose face with stating they have a particular problem. So student finance and ensuring that that the students are fully aware of how to budget, some of the simple things, how you can help them to make savings and manage their money in a way that makes their experience more pleasurable and doesn't lead to stress and anxiety is really helpful. I put it right at the top there because not everybody has an endless pot of money, and the experience can be a fantastic one, but sometimes we need to help young adults to understand the importance of budgeting.
Definitely. Like there was more than one person that I remember saying that they blew their whole student loan in the first week of uni.
Yeah.
On just stuff, and I was shocked because I suppose I had a better idea of managing money because I worked from the age of 13, so I kind of managed my own little bits of money, and obviously that and just grew. So maybe that's one tip to sort of give children earlier on the tools to kind of manage their own money from an earlier age.
Absolutely, and it's a life skill, and it's empowering, whether you have a 12-year-old, 18-year-old, or even to a certain extent, maybe slightly older, how you manage your finance. It's a challenge. You know, life is really difficult for students going off to university. They are under so much pressure from so many different directions, whether it's from social media, from their peers, from having the latest things, that it's a real struggle for them, and it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Definitely. So when you were living in Dubai and your daughter was going to university in the UK,
she was living in Wales, North Wales,
what were your biggest concerns at the time?
My biggest concerns at the time for her were the pastoral care and the additional support that she had and the networks to that. I think when you have somebody who's gone off to university, you know, just take a moment to ask a few questions. What levels of support that the students have when they're going through university? At my daughter's, she didn't have a great deal, and it was actually quite significant in the impact that had on her study, in her confidence. And being remote from her living in the UAE was really quite tricky. So you kind of need to ensure they've got a network of support, and do question the universities on this and what they have in place. So if your child or the person you care for is struggling, who can they go to? Are they going to be accessible? Are they available? You don't want a situation where the tutors or the carers are away on research projects everywhere and not actually there for the students. So do ask questions. It's very important to do that.
Yeah, it's I'm just trying to remember, sort of like there is usually sort of like guidance counselors, and sort of like there's usually a team at most universities, whether it's career guidance or various different departments that kind of are meant to look after this. And the student unions
absolutely,
great resource.
Absolutely,
definitely, it's like hooking into those things like very early on.
Yes,
and I think universities could be a lot better at making students more, and the parents more aware of what is available before they even arrive.
I think so. I think there are lots of universities who are absolutely fantastic at this, and as a parent, it's our responsibility to know where we can get that information, have it at our hands. I think there's a perception that it's always somebody else's responsibility, but ultimately, as parents, we are responsible to ensure that that there are mechanisms in place to keep students safe, to keep them informed, to keep them empowered, and we all have a role to play. It takes a whole community to educate a child and to bring a confident, healthy adult into this world. So, just making sure that we do that.
Yeah, because I think going back to you're talking about mental health, I think that really key, because it's very easy to have a Skype call with your mum and make sure and say, yeah, everything's fine, and sort of like, and trying to save face to everyone when actually you are actually really struggling, and are getting overwhelmed with all the pressures of uni work, and sort of like managing your finances, and maybe you've got a part-time job, and yeah, just overwhelmed.
Completely. I think there are great organisations out there like Student Minds. Their website is studentminds.org.uk. They are really great at signposting and supporting students who are going through difficult times. And again, as parents, it's just ensuring that the universities or the colleges and that the students themselves have access to these resources. They know where to go. It's something which now within the university sector is really high on the agenda, and rightly so, which is really reassuring as a parent, because even 5 years ago when my daughter was at university, it wasn't. And it really needs to be, because it's so vitally important. Yeah.
So, so 5 years ago, when there wasn't so much awareness about these resources, how did you kind of manage that transition when you're far away?
Not very well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't manage it very well. I was naive, and I'm sat here now with far more information and confidence and awareness than I did back then. There are really some checklists that as a parent or a carer of somebody going off to university, that you could just spend a bit of time coaching and supporting young adults going off. Things that include, you know, the student finance, the accommodation. That's actually very important, ensuring that where the student's going to be staying is not only safe, it's accessible, it's got the resources that are needed, and asking the right questions that maybe the students may not themselves be, they may be focused on location, and that's the priority.
To the bar.
Exactly. But it's knowing that, you know, what is accessible, what is safe. Are they going to be able to access the laundry facilities? How much will they get charged if they lose their keys? So, or the way that they can get in, because obviously they take it very seriously, the safety and security. And so if the student's going to get penalised significantly for the loss of keys, then as a parent or carer, we just need to remind the student of the importance of looking after them. Now, a majority do that for their own homes anyway. However, when you bring alcohol and other things into the mix, sometimes those sort of things might be overlooked somewhat. So it's all those sorts of things that we can help, making sure that the students have got access to rail cards, or they're aware of you know, NUS and all the different discounts and benefits they can get as well. We have a role to play to ensure that when the student goes off to university, they have the very best experience they possibly can. They are not overloaded with information, but they have got the key resources they need to make it the best opportunity they possibly can, and are able to relax and study and make friendships and do all those things without all the pressures that inevitably they face without additional support.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I want RelocateGuru to sit, is in that resource base, to be the signpost where their peers and like the students like a couple of years ahead, and the parents as well, can just add and share those little tips of where those resources are, and so that you can collect them in one place, one handy place, instead of them getting lost and overwhelmed. And
Absolutely, yeah.
easier, and just take that burden of worry off of people, because it's like, oh, it's okay, it's all in one place, this is everything I need to know, and that you can share and add to that.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's the benefit of Relocate Guru. I mean, the appeal is to so many people in so many different situations and scenarios, whether you are the parent or the carer or the student, you know, that one-stop shop to know everything you need to know, and all the handy hints and tips. I mean, it's just really valuable.
Yeah, so we'll need lots of people to kind of add their tips for their cities and what they would do. But definitely, as it builds and grows, I hope it will be one of those resources to just take that pressure off, because in this day and age, there's enough pressure going on and enough stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Technology to make life better and easier than I think me, you, and everyone else that we know it will be doing our jobs.
Completely.
So is there any particular things that you, in hindsight, you wish someone had told you?
I think there are. I mean, we've touched upon a majority of the ones where I feel that as a parent, I didn't prepare my daughter enough for what she was about to experience. And there was a big assumption that there were lots of different things, whether it was fire safety, whether it was managing budgets to a certain extent. There were lots of things where I actually could have done a better job myself as a parent. And I think that there are simple things like ensuring that your young person knows how long it takes to cook pasta or bacon or whatever it could be, because there's a big assumption that we assume people know. When we were validating the prototype of our app, we were sat with 50 students and we were asking them some very simple questions about how long does it take to cook a pan of pasta, and what would you do if, what do you not put into another classic one which kept coming out is, what do you not put into a microwave? And people didn't always realise that you can't put silver foil into a microwave. So I could see your face there, but actually, unless someone's physically said, don't do that, or if the student hasn't cooked with a microwave before, because it happens, if they're used to home cooking, it's not something that they've had an expectation to do, then accidents do happen. So it's just going through that little simple checklist of, how to stay safe, the simple things that maybe if you live independently, you take for granted. You really do take for granted. It's those sorts of things really that, although my daughter was good from the safety point of view, in terms of managing her budget, I could have done a better job. In terms of finding the right kind of accommodation for her, I maybe didn't ask the right kind of questions. And it's just finding the right place that's right for your student as well. I've made lots of mistakes as a parent, but that's great that we can share them through RelocateGuru, really.
Like help others and me when the time comes to avoid those mistakes and set the groundwork early. But no, I was the amounts of times I burnt rice before I got the hang of it was
okay. Yeah.
And, I think I managed to set spaghetti on fire.
Yeah. Okay. And you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone, and the thing is that with alarm activations in university, a majority of them thankfully are false alarms, or they're caused by it might be steam in the showers or other things like that, but there are a number of fires that happen in university establishments across the UK, and it takes 90 seconds for a fire to take hold and become incredibly serious. And so we don't want people to be complacent. We want to prevent fires and alarm activations and just to make everything a lot safer, really.
Definitely. And I think a lot of these skills should be taught a lot earlier, sort of like in schools.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like we had home economics in school, where you had to learn how to budget and sort of like plan meals and things like that, which doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Like you were taught how to sew, like to darn a sock and like sew a button, and like all these kind of basic life skills, which seem to be getting lost because there's so much pressure on the academics that we don't have those basic life skills taught to us like they used to.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I remember the same. I remember spending a week we had a flat in our school, and we had to do exactly all those things, and we were given a budget and go out and buy shopping and invite the headmaster for lunch. And I can't comment. I don't know exactly in terms of PHSE what is covered, what as part of the core syllabus. Based on my daughter's experiences, I don't think they covered the level of detail that we used to. I mean, you're significantly younger than me, Nicole, but yeah, it is quite interesting. If you look at Twitter, you take to Twitter and you see what young people are saying about living independently. And there was one tweet I remember of a lady who couldn't sew on a button, and it's true. Incredibly intelligent young people who have got amazing skills, fantastic entrepreneurial skills, but can they all cook pasta or rice or do some of the basic things? And I think there a majority inevitably can, of course, but there are some who just haven't ever had that opportunity to do it, or international students who are used to cooking a different kind of way to how we cook over here. And I think that it's ensuring that everything's safe for everybody involved as well.
Definitely. And have you noticed with your work sort of like the differences of that culture plays in it?
Yeah.
Have you noticed sort of like any big differences where there's a very different cultural attitude towards fire safety?
Yes, completely. Completely. We spoke to a number of international students who, when we were asking them about fire safety, the actual terminology, the actual phrase, it's not something they were even familiar with. So as part of their culture, it's not part of what they are aware of or familiar with. So if you're going off to university and you had somebody from the fire brigade coming in to talk, and you're from a country where it just wasn't something that was familiar to them, they're not going to want to engage. They don't even understand what the concept is. So that's why we're using mobile technology in a way that transcends languages. It is a visually representative. People recognize fire as soon as they see it. They understand what that is. But there are huge differences, and that's what makes the world so amazing and diverse and a wonderful place. But at the same time, it puts different people at risks in different pockets or different living accommodations, simply because we're all different. We all do things differently, and we don't understand the risks if we've never been faced with them before.
So we mentioned like a few resources that would be helpful, like the Student Minds.
Yes.
Were there any other resources that you found particularly helpful at the time, or that you've discovered?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of resources that I've discovered more recently, actually, that are really great resources, and I would recommend. Student World Online, I think it's studentworldonline.com. They are a fantastic resource to talk about all the different universities in the UK. And they're a great resource for students who are international or looking to travel overseas or to work to actually go to university overseas. So they really have a good global feel to them, and they're full of hints and tips about international students coming to the UK, or likewise if you're looking to study overseas. There's also the Complete University Guide.co.uk, which is great. Again, that's a great resource for parents. I've really enjoyed looking at that website. That almost covers a ready reckoner of a checklist of things that students need to be aware of. Also, as parents, we just need to make sure it's on the radar for the process that students are going through once they've actually gone through clearing, to getting accommodation, to budgeting, to student loans, and everything you could possibly want. The nus.org.uk is the National Union of Students, and as a parent, that's a great resource to see what opportunities are out there for students. That's also for them to understand what discounts and benefits they can have. And a lot of these websites, all of these websites, not only focus on the student experience, they focus on staying safe from crime, personal safety, managing budgets, etc. So the few that I've given are actually they're probably the best resources that I've come across, aside from individual universities that should have their own or do have their own or signpost as well. So they would be ones that I would recommend for parents wanting a good overview and not being bombarded with too much information.
That's fair. Yeah, I miss the student discounts.
Yeah.
It's worth going back to uni just to get the discounts.
Yeah, and they all add up. They all make a difference, and it's great to have that for students. I think they need to maximise every opportunity they can when it comes to that.
So, as we kind of wrap up, so what are your best tips for parents who have kids who are about to go to university this year?
Best tips for parents of children going off to university this year, teenagers, I would say remain calm, and ensure that your young adult that you're supporting is not restricted by your worry, that they're empowered to actually embrace the experience and feel confident. So we need to help them to feel confident, but remain calm. As a parent, it's very easy to take this experience and flip it and make it ours of, oh dear, my young person's, my daughter's going to university, woe is me. But actually, you know, this is their opportunity in life. It's so exciting for them, and we need to guide them in a way that gives them confidence and is empowered. And just also take time to listen to what they're saying. Really listen to what they are saying to you, and just try and pick up on anything. If there's any signs that they are not coping, that they are finding themselves isolated or exceptionally stressed, etc., and act on it. Act on it. Not only support your teenage or young adult, but look to the university to help scoop them up and help them as well. We should do that. I think they need as much support as possible when going off to university, and remaining calm and not too emotional, and giving them the wonderful experience they deserve through universities is a great gift for them.
I was just thinking that, did you sort of like have any experience with like that empty nest syndrome?
I did. I mean, I did to a certain extent. And I've got two younger children who are now 13 and 9, who were much younger at that time, and keeping me incredibly busy. And that is something also as a parent, if you've got lots of children and you've got one going off to university, I felt that I didn't really give my daughter the time she deserved whilst going through that. I had given her probably I didn't push her away, that sounds wrong, but at the same time I felt maybe I should have been more of a support for her at that time, and I was so focused on the younger children that I didn't really give her what she needed. And I think that as parents we need to be mindful of balancing that with her. There is a moment in time though where you stop and you think of your adult child, if you like, and it's quite an emotional time. It is quite a significant time, and yeah, it's keeping occupied, keeping informed of what they're doing without being too in their face of what they're doing as well. It's a tricky time. It's a tricky time.
Yeah, no, I had to do this sort of like obligatory like phone call every day to make sure that I was still alive. That was. I
mean, that's interesting, because with technology now, we've got WhatsApp. WhatsApp is wonderful. Skype is fantastic, and so it's just picking up on, if you get a text message or a WhatsApp message at an unusual time of day, it's just responding to it, and just picking up on the signs that maybe things aren't quite as you'd expect them to be. Children's health or young adults' health is also another one. In all kind of contexts, making sure that their physical health is a priority for them. It's like with anything, isn't it? You know, fix your own oxygen mask before fixing the person next to you. And when an adult goes off to university, they need to make sure they look after themselves. And it's giving the students the tools to be able to do that, and to do that confidently as well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, because it might be the first time that they've had to register with a doctor.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Process, so.
Yeah, completely. All those sorts of things. It's all the things that maybe might be a bit embarrassing for them to sort out. I mean, universities are fantastic in ensuring safety and well-being in terms of health the majority of the time, or sexual health and things like that. I think that as parents, it may be subjects that we're a bit uncomfortable about, but it's necessary to know that they've got everything they need to stay healthy and safe, and have a great time.
So, what is your vision for Vigiles, and sort of like, and how it grows? Sort of like, what would your dream be to see how it pan out?
Okay, well, for Vigiles, I think for us, we really want to be the game changers for safety learning, and we put the felt experience at the heart of all that we do in the innovating of using mobile technology for learning about serious safety subjects. So our vision for Vigiles really would be what a company who 5 years down the line if there's a particular subject, whether it's stress and anxiety, recycling, health and safety, we are the organisation where people think, yes, the Vigiles are the company, they do things completely differently. And okay, we're raising a few eyebrows and challenging the norm now, but on the back of what we do, we're able to capture lots of analytics in terms of people's behaviour and how they react to learning. And we really want to be, as I say, the game changers for safety learning, using what's incredibly exciting and innovative reality technology.
So can people download the app and try it anywhere in the world, or is it just for certain places?
Well, at the moment, we've developed a number of products using video technology for employee engagement, and our core student app called Get Fired Up, we are trialling that with a number of universities and accommodation providers at the moment. And that is likely to be available via the different universities. Maybe further down the line, it would be available via the App Store. But we're quite new in what we do, and so we haven't got it out there just yet, because we kind of want to keep some of our secret sauce a bit quiet at the moment. But it's developing the reality technology at low complexity that will be attractive and available to the mass market. That would be the ultimate goal. So I was at an exhibition just on Saturday, and we had people or children as young as 5 playing with our fire safety app, right through to adults. Actually, one gentleman who was 76, they loved it. So for us, that's great validation, and we're just building upon that to make it a really exciting, innovative experience for everyone to have access to.
So maybe if you've got a university, if you know a university or a school that wants to do fire safety, they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. We're talking to a number of universities at the moment who are interested in actually taking our core product and adding a few bits into it and building upon that and trialling it with large groups of students. And watch this space. It will be live in a number of places within the year.
That's fantastic.
Thank
So
you.
any final words of wisdom before we wrap up today?
Well, oh gosh, after results day, just really start getting prepared for university as a parent, as a student, and just start making those little steps at the moment. And yeah, I can't. I think we've covered quite a lot, Nicole. I don't think I can quickly rattle through a lot. I mean, I know one other piece of information which may be beneficial. When it comes to taking their own car to university, it's really expensive. So maybe if they were able to look at alternative methods of getting around, that may be the best option. Because when things start going wrong in their car and they are several hundred miles away, quite often it's the bank of mum and dad that get called in, or those sorts of things. I mean, there are so many different hints and tips for people going off to university, but just keep an open mind and be really super supportive and empower your young person to have the most wonderful time they possibly can.
Fantastic. So we'll put all the links that Diane shared in the comments so that you can find those resources and share them with whoever you think will find them useful. And yeah, feel free to share this video as widely as possible so that we can help as many people as possible. And so thank you so much, Diane, for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and we'll see you again very soon. But keep continuing the conversation. If you have any tips and suggestions, please put them in the comments, and we will answer them for you. So yeah, keep the conversation going in the comments below. Have a great day.
Thanks, Nicole. Bye-bye now.
Bye.